How are you? I hope you're well and you've been great. I'm so good myself. I'm happy. I think I'm always happy. Am I always happy? No. But I am happy today. This is a beautiful day that the Lord has made, and we'll be glad and rejoice in it. But yeah, I'm happy most of the times actually. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a blessing to be a happy girl. I'm a happy girl. So I hope you're well. Welcome to We'll Need More Tea with Jasmine. Jasmine is me. My name is Jasmine. And this is a beautiful platform where we have conversations over a cup of tea. I love tea. If you didn't know that, you should know that about me. Napenda chai. I mean tea, literally. Tea, a cup of tea. So when I was born, my birth name, or the name that I was given at birth, was Yasmin. Yasmin with a Y, not a J. Jasmine came way later. So my name was Yasmin. And so when somebody calls me Yasmin, I know that this person has known me from childhood, from when I was a baby. And so most people who call me Yasmin are family members, you know, and people who've known me from when I was a child. My story is a long one. Which movie is that? You should know. If you're a movie fan, you know. But it just so happens that I got other names somewhere along the path. Very many names. I have very many names, by the way. But people who know me from high school, they call me Liz or Lizzie. Or rather from the period when I was in high school, they call me Liz. People who know me from primary school, they call me Dolly. Which is funny now that I'm talking about it. Fine, they call me Dolly or Kabibi, and that is because I was so small. I was so tiny, like physically and also age-wise. Like I've always been the youngest in all my classes. Same thing with high school. I was called Liz or Liz Katoi. Actually, that's a name, Liz Katoi, because I was also very, very small physically. I was super tiny. Let me tell you guys, I was small. I was so tiny. Very, very tiny. In fact, it was so bad. Okay, this is embarrassing. I used to think I'm never gonna grow boobs. So, oh my God, how should I be saying this here? So I used to think I'm never gonna grow boobs. Sorry. Is there a better word for boobs that's not so booby? Oh my God, what am I saying? So what I used to do, they are human parts anyway, right? So anyway, what I used to do, I used to steal my mom's bra. Not really steal, but take it and wear it and then see how I'm gonna look like when they grow, or in case they ever grow, because I didn't believe they would ever grow. I was that small, and I was doing that while I'm in Form 3, so I was like super small. So I was small both in stature and age-wise. So people who know me from, I was giving that story to show you guys how tiny I was. So till today, or rather when I went to campus and I'll meet some people, I don't know what happened. When I went to campus, my body just suddenly decided, yo, lo and behold, here you are. And the Lord gave me all parts in abundance, pressed down, shaken together, and it overflowed. Oh my God, this is not how this video was supposed to go. But anyway, so when I went to campus and I would meet people from high school and from my primary school, they'll be like, oh my God, Katoi, what happened to you? Like, you grew finally, you are actually gonna grow. I was like, yeah, I'm as shocked as you are. I grew, here I am. So guys, yeah, here I am, I grew. Yeah, so whenever I meet people from these different spheres of my life, they address me different ways, and I get to know how someone knows me. Like nikisikia someone randomly calling me, hey Katoi, I know that's somebody from high school. When I hear someone calling me, hey Kabebi, that's someone from primary school. When someone calls me Yasmin, I know that's most likely family or someone who knew me when I was, you know, growing, or yeah, when I was really, really tiny. Other people, I have so many names, guys. I feel like I'm sharing all my names here. My other name is Shiko. So when I hear, so we later moved from where we used to live. We used to live in Rongai. So when we moved, I addressed as Shiko. So when I hear people calling me Shiko, I know, these are people I've grown up with, and once you are home, these are the people who call me Shiko. And now, when I hear people call me Jasmine, this is someone who's known me in my adulthood. Like now I know my name. My name is Jasmine. You can call me Jasmine. Yeah, so these are people now who've known me in my adulthood, and just people around me. So why am I talking about names? Because I think sometimes when you hear people calling you a certain thing, a certain name, a certain way, then it identifies with something. Same thing it does with me. I identify it with something. I identify it with a situation or a place in my life. Lucky for you if you've always gone under one name. Lucky for you. But for people like me, I have like 1,000,001 names. So to you, I ask today, what does God call you? Do you know who you are? And that brings the topic of the day today. I'm talking about identity, a bit about it, because I feel like this is a thing that you can never really talk about it to completion. What is your identity? Who are you? Like if you're taught to describe yourself today, what would you describe yourself as? Let me pick my cup of tea again. What would you describe yourself as? Who are you exactly? How do you identify as? And I'm saying that because we are living in a generation when a lot of things have been altered, a lot of I don't know how to put it, but a lot of things have been altered. Creation have been altered, people have been altered. Everybody is going by what they feel like they are, but deep down, who are you? What describes you? What do you identify as? Who do you identify as? What shapes your identity? Who informs the person that you are? So in the book of Judges, chapters 6 and 7, the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, and he tells him a couple of things, and then he calls him a mighty man of valor, and Gideon is like, bro, wrong address. It is me, the least in my tribe. He's the least in his family, and his family is the least tribe. So he's double sure, but this guy has the wrong address. Yeah, and it is very interesting that he actually calls him mighty man of valor. So for Gideon himself, he saw himself as the least possible human being. For Moses, he was I'm a stammerer. I can't speak properly. I killed a man. Find someone better. And the Lord is like, you are gonna be the deliverer. You're going to be the deliverer of Egypt. And so the angle that I want us to talk about today is an identity, specifically not an identity of anyone, but the identity of a believer. I find, I'm reading through the Bible, and I'm seeing a pattern among men and women who have met God, that they never, ever remain the same. Their identities change, and some, even their names change. Starting with the father of faith, Abraham. He met the Lord. At first he was called Abram, but when he met the Lord, he changed and he was called Abraham. The father of nations, and this happened after he became a man of faith, a man who got to know God, a man who feared God, a man who obeyed God, and the Lord changed his name. His wife Sarai, she became Sarah. Abraham's story is beautiful. I think it's one of my favorites. It's one of the reasons why I keep reading and rereading Genesis. I think it builds my faith a lot, and I pray that my faith will be built. And why I think that is because I feel, this is just my imagination, I think Abraham knew less of God than I do, and yet he did more. He trusted more, he had more faith. He is the father of faith. He is the father of nations. He didn't have a Bible to refer to, and yet I do. Yet we do have a Bible to refer to. So maybe we should know more. We should have more faith, because we've seen an evidence of God over and over and over and over again, and we have references to look at. So there's Abraham, there is Sarah, there is Jacob. I find him to be very intriguing. He met the Lord. This guy wrestled with the Lord. They wrestled. His hip was dislocated. This guy was full of audacity. But once he met the Lord, His life was never the same again. Indeed, his name from that day changed to Israel. And I am talking a lot about names because I know names form an identity and names describe who you are. When your name is called, you respond because that is who you are. So when Jacob, when he met the Lord, he changed and he became Israel. When Saul, the persecutor, met Jesus Christ, he became Paul. When Peter, the guy who doubted, met Jesus, his name was called the Rock. He became the Rock. So when you meet Jesus, your life can never, ever, ever remain the same. And that means your identity has to change. That means you have to change not only by your name, and I hope you're getting the gist here. I'm not talking about your physical name. I'm not saying now you change your name magically to, I don't know, Methuselah or Leviticus or Nebuchadnezzar. No, don't change your name. Don't change your name. But what I'm saying is, when you meet the Lord, you cannot be the same person that you are. Something in you has got to give. Something in you has got to change. Starting with the fact that you're now a new person and you identify as a child of God. The book of Ephesians, chapter 1, talks about how we've now been adopted just as we were adopted to sonship by Jesus Christ for the good pleasure of his will. That means that you're now a son of God. Now, in the Roman culture, in the traditional Roman culture, a slave or a person who was adopted into a family, or everything that they identified as before, starting with their name, their culture, their habits, everything, all old ties were severed completely, and now they identified with the family that they've been adopted into. That means they even had an inheritance in this family that they've been adopted into. And that is the same thing for us believers. We've been adopted into sonship, into this new family of Christ, and that means that everything that was of old has gotta go. It's gotta go. The old habits, they've gotta go. The old beliefs, they've gotta go. The old doubts, they've gotta go. Now you're a new person. You're a son. And that means you're also guaranteed of an inheritance. You're guaranteed of an inheritance in this new family that you have been adopted into, because you're a son into the family by legal right. So you have an inheritance here. But I want you, most especially, even before anything else, to be secure in your identity. Number one, as a child of God, because that is who you are, and that will never be shaken, and that will never be taken away from you. You're a child of God. Know that, believe it, run by it, and act as one. That is the other thing. It is one thing to know something. It is another thing to act as it. So you need to act as a son. You need to act as a child of God. And as I am saying this to you, I'm also saying it to myself, that we need to act as children of God. You can't be a son and yet you're acting as a slave. You're one who God has provided for. You're one who God has loved. You're one who God has healed. Actually, in the same book of Ephesians, chapter 1, it talks about how God, blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessings. That means there are not things that are going to come badai, when you're a good child, when you're a good son. These are things that are already there for you, an inheritance for you as a child of God, every spiritual blessing. And so we've got to act as sons. We have to behave as sons. You've got to think as a son. You have to think as who God has called you to be. So if he has called you a royal priesthood, you've got to carry yourself as royal priesthood. Yeah. If he has called you blessed, you've got to act as one who is blessed, not as one who is a slave, not as one who is begging, not as one who is a servant, not as one who is sick. Yeah. So let your identity and everything that you are, let your operations operate as someone whose identity is in God. And that means you have to know your identity. You have to know what God has called, because you can't refer to yourself as what you do not know, right? You can't identify as what you don't know, you do not know. So you have to find out, what does God call you? So I ask you today, what is your identity? What is your name? What has God called you? Are you living it? Are you acting it? Are you thinking like it? Yeah. So you are who God calls you to be. You're his child. You're a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. I hope you know that. I hope you live by it. I hope every core of your being believes that and live as if that's it, because that is the absolute pure truth. That's it from me today. See you in the next video. Bye bye.